Welcome back into the Real Bros podcast. I'm your host, Austin Real, joined with my co-host and brother, Ethan Real. Ethan, how are you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic, brother. Super stoked to hop on another episode here with you. And we got a lot of good stuff to get into today. And man, feeling good, feeling good. How about you, man?
Dude, I'm doing great. Cannot complain. It's awesome to be able to get on the second episode of this podcast so far, and I hope people are going to see the upgrades we've made with the broadcast and the graphics and everything like that, and will appreciate it. And speaking of people that were a part of the first episode and sharing the content, commenting, liking, all that, uh, both of us just want to say thank you. We appreciate everything that everyone did, sharing the video and trying to get us people to check us out. So it does mean a lot to us, and talking sports is what we live for. So that was awesome. And, I assume you kind of had the same takeaway after seeing the reaction that we got from people that were kind
Yeah,
of yeah.
yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, no, for me, it's, obviously we go back so far, talking sports since really my earliest memories and, early on for you as well. And, yeah, so it comes super natural for us to be able to do this, and yeah, getting the feedback that we've gotten from so many people reaching out, certainly do appreciate that, and we're excited to keep this ball rolling and keep cranking out episodes for you guys to hear, and appreciate any support in the future you guys could give us, and leaving us comments, sending us DMs, letting us know what you guys like, what you want to see more, anything, we certainly greatly appreciate it. And again, thank you for the support on that first episode.
Yeah, and I just want to get into reiterate, please like this video, comment, and just let us know if there's any topics or anything like that that you'd want us to cover, talk about. We'd be happy to, and anything related to sports, we'd love to cover. I also do a lot of trying to get back into doing sports writing. I've done it before for other companies. And on our Discord, we created a Discord channel for this podcast specifically. That's where I will be posting all my articles at. Most of them are going to be fantasy football related, but there'll be some that are not. So if you want to check those out and you want to join the Discord, there will be a link in this description below. So check it out and feel free to join. But with that being said, we're going to jump into our first topic. We're going to talk about the men's tournament and what transpired there. So that's going to be what comes up next. All right. So men's tournament. Um, we had Florida take down Houston in the national championship, and it was a kind of a wild final four. Ethan, do you care to kind of break down those games in the final four and the championship?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, what a season here in March Madness. Always an exciting time of the year, and this year certainly didn't disappoint. I don't think many people probably predicted all four number one seeds would make it onto the Final Four, but man, we really got some good games there, and congratulations to the University of Florida for getting their national championship there. Obviously, there's some big storylines that came out of it, specifically the Duke and Houston that we'll get into, but. First and foremost, I always just want to start by congratulating Florida on getting the job done, and had a heck of a season there, and a lot to be excited about if you're a Florida Gator fan. So, but yeah, just to get into the first Final Four game we'll jump into is obviously the Duke and the Houston game. That was kind of the storyline of the tournament. Duke was, the prohibited favorites coming into the tournament to get the job done. Obviously, they have the consensus number one pick in Cooper Flag, and just a very quality team. Had a fantastic season, but uh, things did not go the way they wanted it to there in that Final Four game with that collapse at the end. But regardless, Houston, man, give them credit. Never give up, never quit, and always can find a way. And in college basketball specifically, you never are dead in college basketball. The 1-and-1 free throw is always just it's a game changer in college, and no matter how much you're down by late, there's always a chance that you can make it happen, and they certainly did there. Duke was up by 7 with 90 seconds left, and had a couple of bad turnovers there in that last 90 seconds. Missed some free throws, and Emmanuel Sharp had hit a massive 3-pointer that had pulled it to within three, within 31 seconds left, and that was kind of when it was like, holy crap, this is it's not over yet. And yeah, and Houston came down, made some big free throws down the stretch. Uh, and it came down to that very last possession where Cooper Flag had a good look to win the game and didn't make the shot. But hey, that's basketball and that's life. Not every shot's going to go in, and I'm living with that shot attempt. He had a really good look at the basket, and like I said, it didn't go in, but it was a good look, and Cooper Flag. There's no doubts what he's going to be in the future, and no question whatsoever that he's going to be a great player to come. But shout out to Houston on getting to the finals. A heck of a season for them. Uh, Jumping into the Florida and Auburn game, another one of those games where blown leads, kind of costing them. Auburn was up by 8 at the half, and then this guy, Walter Clayton Jr., happened. Just went absolute bonkers in the second half of that game. Had scored 20 points in that second half and just made clutch free throws down the stretch. And man, when you're in college, these college games, they certainly it's a game changer to have a guy that can step up to that free throw line and just ice the game. Like we were just talking about with the 1-and-1 free throw. Having a player that can go up there fearlessly and make those shots, especially into those lights where, a lot of these players, they've played in big atmospheres and big games, but there's just nothing like these massive March Madness games where it's, like we all know, it's go or it's win or go home. And having a player that can step up there fearlessly and just make big shots, make big free throws down the stretch, it says a lot about the team. It says a lot about the coaching and the belief that they put in their players. And Florida was able to go, get the job done in that game and come from behind and pull that one out. Yeah, and then leading into that finals game, same thing. All these games were games where the team that ended up losing, they were in the driver's seat, looking like they were getting ready to blow the game open and find a way to win it. But like we're saying, it's in college specifically, it's just you're never out of it, and you just got to keep scratching and keep clawing and try to fight yourself back into that game. And if you can make it a close game down the stretch, you're going to have a chance. And same thing here in this finals game where Houston was up at one point. They were up by 12 in the second half. And yeah, I mean, absolute credit to Florida for finding a way to claw their way back into it and get the job done. But hey, that's what great teams do. Great teams, they find a way to win big games no matter what the circumstances are. And Florida had been doing that pretty much all season, specifically on the back half of the season where ending the season they had won 19 of their last 20 and won the SEC championship, had some massive wins in the SEC championship where they avenged a loss to Mizzou. They beat Tennessee, who had a great tournament, and then took out Alabama in that finals, and it carried straight over into the finals into March Madness where they got their way to the championship and they found a way to get the job done. So congratulations to Florida on a heck of a season, and congratulations on just an awesome March Madness, awesome March Madness year, and super fun, super entertaining, and super fun from the fan perspective to be able to witness these games there.
Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned that all 4 number 1 seeds made it, and just kind of how unlikely that is to happen. That is only the second time in NCAA history that it has happened. It did happen in 2008, back when Kansas, Memphis, North Carolina, and UCLA all reached it. So definitely some historical significance there. And looking at my predictions, I did have Duke and Florida in the championship, so I was pretty upset to see Duke not pull that one out because it would have at least had the right championship game there. But again, like you said, congrats to Florida. It was a pretty good Final Four to witness as fans. And look, talking about Cooper Flag, this guy is looking to be the number 1 pick in the draft, I think. it would be a shocker if he didn't go number one. It seems like that's just set in stone at this point.
Yeah.
Through the tournament, he averaged 21 points a game and was just a very reliable offensive scorer for Duke. He averaged about 5 assists a game and a couple blocks. So had himself a really nice tournament and even dropped 30 points against Arizona in the Sweet 16. So really showed what kind of dominant player he can be and will be at the next level. And speaking about the next level, we'll jump into a little NBA draft here. Walter Clayton Jr., most outstanding player. How do you feel like his draft stock? Do you feel like it's risen since this tournament or dropped? I mean, obviously it wouldn't drop from this, but how high has it risen, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean it's hard saying this early on, specific, especially not knowing 100% what the draft lottery is gonna, end up looking like here. But I don't see how it hasn't risen. I mean, he had just an incredible tournament across the board. Had massive games there against he had a 23-point game against UConn. Had a 30-point game against Texas Tech. In that game, he stopped 13 of 14 free throws, which is, I mean, incredible that he even got to the free throw line 14 times in that game, and to step up there and make 13 of those. I mean, that just shows you that, you're capable of being in high pressure situations, and you're capable of excelling in those situations. And under those kind of pressure and under those lights and that circumstances, seeing a player that can go in there and be fearless like that, I love to see it from the fan perspective. And I like his game a lot. And then I'm carrying over to that Final Four game where he just went absolute bonkers in that game, dropped 34 and didn't have the greatest stat line in that championship game, but he impacted the game, in multiple different ways. And yeah, it's hard saying right now exactly where he'll end up falling to in the draft, but I don't see how his stock doesn't go up. I mean, he was a tournament player of the year, and man, he went on a really good run, and he was kind of the X factor that got Florida over the hump
Yeah.
this year. So
Yeah.
great tournament for him, and really a great season for him as well.
Yeah, up until the tournament run, I had seen his name being mentioned, as a first round pick, but not necessarily always in the lottery. And now it seems like he's for sure a lottery pick. It just depends on how high. I mean, I've seen some drafts where people are taking him in the top five. Um, just gonna, I'm excited to kind of see what happens and just see, what kind of run a player can go on to really uh, propel them up draft boards and to actually get drafted higher. Like we said, Cooper Flagg's probably number one overall pick. Is there a team specifically that you would like to see him on? Because for me personally, before you jump into it, and for me it's the Utah Jazz. They're the favorites to land him, and I see that as the fit that he's going to end up going. But curious to see. I feel like you're going to have a different choice there for a team. So, where would you like to see Cooper
Yeah.
Flagg playing?
Yeah, I mean, right now, chances are it's going to be between, the Jazz, the Wizards, the Hornets. I don't know how much I his fit in any of those teams, and we know as sports fans, these players, especially these high caliber prospects coming in, it is so their future and their success in the league is determined on the situation they go to. I mean, we see it over and over and over again. And a team I would love to see him go to personally would be the Raptors. They're sitting there at about the seventh highest likely odds to get the number one pick. So not super likely, but I mean they're building something there. They made the trade for Brandon Ingram at the trade deadline. They got Scotty Barnes there. They got R.J. Barrett there. They got an Emmanuel Quickly there and a Jakob Poeltl, and they got guys there. And it really seems to me like they could potentially be one piece away from not going to go to the length of saying that they're one piece away from winning the championship, but to me, they're one piece away from really, being an X factor in the East and being a team that, could be a contender or could be a top team in the East. So I would love to see Cooper Flag go to the Raptors. I think it could be potentially a good fit for him, and he's going to actually be surrounded by players that, are good players and players that could help bring the best out of him. And you got a good mix of younger players, but also got guys that are kind of starting to be veterans in the NBA. And being in that kind of atmosphere, I think could help him excel. what do I think it's likely that the Raptors would get the number one pick? No, but it'd be good. It'd be a good fit for him there. And then on top of that, selfishly as a Lakers fan, I'd like to see him go to the East personally. Seems like the West just always finds a way to get the best guys. So if we can keep him in the East, that's good for all of us.
Yeah, the Raptors fit would be deadly for sure, and I've got a lot of Canadian friends that I think would enjoy that quite a bit. Real quick, we're gonna wrap this one up here in a second, but give me a prospect name that's outside of Clayton, outside of Flag. Give me a name that might be a top five guy, somebody that you really like coming that's gonna be in this NBA draft.
Yeah. So as of right now, it's kind of looking like the number two pick, or at least on a lot of people's mocks, is looking to be Dylan Harper out of Rutgers. And there's some things I don't love about him. He's had some issues with efficiency shooting the ball, but we know coming into the NBA, especially for these young guys, that really really honing in that jumper and honing in that efficiency on their shooting percentages, that sometimes just takes time, and these guys are young, and they're only going to develop that bit more and more. But what I do love about him is his size. I mean, he's a 6'6" guard who can run the point, and that's just so valuable in the NBA. Especially we see a lot of these great a lot of the best point guards in the NBA. Like a Luka Doncic, for example. He's a little bit heavier than a Dylan Harper, but having that size, if you can really develop as a passer and develop as a scorer at all levels, having that size just makes you that much more dangerous. And I liked a lot of what he did this year at Rutgers. Obviously, Rutgers didn't have the most amazing season in the world, but he had a really solid season. And one thing I loved about him is his ability to be able to get to the free throw line as well. He did average about 8 free throws a game, which in college is that's spectacular. And if you're getting foul called and you're getting to the free throw line, 8 times a game in college, we obviously know in the NBA that they call fouls a little bit easier than they do in college. So I'm very interested to see how that translates to the NBA, and I think he's someone to keep your eye out for.
Yeah, for sure. I see him going number two in pretty much every draft, so it would not surprise me. Also, the son of Chicago Bulls great Ron Harper. So,
legend.
Yeah. uh, the name I would throw out there would be his teammate, Ace Bailey. I look at this player and I just see a lot of potential in him. He's freakishly athletic. He can score. He's able to impact the game on both sides of the ball. And I just think as he continues to develop, he could turn into a star in the league, and is definitely a guy to keep an eye out for. I think he could be a top 3 pick, but we shall see. And one more name uh, just for the heck of it, we'll go with Trey Johnson from Texas, 6'6" forward, and so a little undersized. He's playing the forward position, but excellent scorer and probably going to be a lottery pick. So I've seen him in a lot of mocks at being in that top 5 range. Another name that I liked with this ability. But that being said, we're going to wrap up in the NCAA men's basketball and jump into the NBA next. So, all right, let's jump into some NBA talk. I know this is going to be the topic of the day that you're going to probably enjoy the most, Ethan. So, with that being said, go ahead and kind of give us a rundown of this past week in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, the big breaking news coming into this last week was just a shocking exit of Michael Malone from the Denver Nuggets. It's something I gotta say, I didn't see this coming. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's gone to the playoffs 6 straight season. I mean, he was just an NBA champion, 2 seasons ago, and it really just blows my mind that the Nuggets decided to move off of him this late into the season. I feel like Malone just certainly deserved the opportunity and the chance to at least prove what they could do in the playoffs. I understand where they're coming from, that it was looking like it wasn't going to end well. Obviously, the way they've been playing, they've not been playing their greatest ball here as of late. But man, you still have Nikola Jokic, who I think we probably both are in agreement is the best player in the NBA right at this moment in time. And man, that's just they're dangerous. They have nice players, and they're accomplished and they're experienced, and they've played a lot together. And I felt like Malone deserved a chance to get to show what they could do in the playoffs. And if it ends badly, then and you want to move off him in the offseason, I felt like he at least deserved the opportunity to get to have an opportunity in the playoffs
Yeah.
coaching this team.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, dude, he's coached 10 seasons for this team. There had to have been some turmoil internally because 471 wins, obviously a championship with the team. Uh, this dude, in my opinion, he deserved to finish out the season. So there's obviously more going on to the story that may or may not come out because they also got rid of Calvin
Yeah.
Booth, their general manager. So, um,
I think that there was some turmoil going on a little bit with I think the ownership was a little bit upset. I don't know for sure if this is, actually verified, but I did think I seen something about they were a little bit upset with the fact that Russ had been getting as much minutes as he had been getting over some of their younger players. But
if anyone has paid attention to our channel and have seen the shorts, or at least the one short that we have on Russ, you would know Ethan's stance on Russell Westbrook. But
yeah, I mean, I hate being that guy that throws shade to Russell Westbrook's way because I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm not going at him for what he was, specifically when he is in OKC. He was an all-time great player in OKC, and there's no denying this guy's greatness. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's a former MVP. This dude averaged a triple double multiple seasons. There's absolutely no denying this guy's greatness. But man, if I'm being honest, I've watched a fair share of his games, specifically the 2 years he was with the Lakers. But since he's left OKC, all he's really consistently done is is join teams that were better without. I mean, maybe you can argue the Wizards, but I mean they won. Okay, they did go to the playoffs, and he had insane numbers that year with the Wizards. But I mean, they won 34 games. It wasn't like they were this 50 win, 60 win juggernaut, and with the Wizards, like they barely scraped into the playoffs, and that was also, with Bradley Beal averaging 31 points a game on that team as well. So it's not like he didn't have a high level co-star at the time.
yeah,
And then obviously he goes to the Lakers, and we we don't got to remind you of what happened there. And there was other things going on there as well. I mean, first of all, shout out to the job Rob Pelinka has done as of late. Getting Luka there and some of the things that he's pulled off. But that was not some of Rob Pelinka's finest work, bringing in those dinosaurs and Carmelo, Dwight Howard, and all those guys. That was like those guys couldn't even get into a guarding stance. So I'm not going to put that all on Russ, but obviously his play was pretty pathetic there with the Lakers. And then obviously after that, he goes to the Clippers. 2 first-round exits in his time with the Clippers on a team that a season before he had got there was in the conference finals. And if it wasn't for Kawhi tearing his ACL, I mean, I think we can make the case that maybe they win the championship. And it's very, very possible. I mean, they were playing good ball, and Kawhi Leonard tearing his ACL was just horrible timing. And I'm glad the Clippers didn't get the championship that year. Just being a Lakers fan, because obviously we know how we feel about the Clippers, but they were one of the best teams in the NBA. Russ goes there, and they're exiting the playoffs in the first round 2 straight seasons. Leading obviously to his arrival there in Denver, and again talking about a team that won the championship 2 years ago, didn't have the finish they wanted last year, losing to Minnesota in 7 in the second round, but stylistically Minnesota was literally built to beat Denver. I mean, that was exactly how they were built, and that series still went 7 games. And then insert Russ onto that team this year, and it's like they just look like a completely different team. And again, I'm not trying to absolutely just cook Russell Westbrook here because he is a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's just not the same player since he's left OKC. And in my personal opinion, I don't think he's the same player. He's lost some athleticism, and he just seems to be he's always kind of was a head case, but as of late, he just seems to be even more of a head case. He takes no accountability when things go wrong, specifically that game against Minnesota last week, where he completely single-handedly lost them the game there, and then just avoided talking to the media for multiple games. And then when he finally does go talk to the media, he just answers every question with, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer for you." It's like, bro, just like no wonder why there's turmoil in this locker room and why. And I'm not putting this all on Russell Westbrook saying that this is why Michael Malone got
No,
fired. But
no, but
it's if you're Russell Westbrook's teammate hearing that, you're like thinking to yourself like, bro, like just take accountability and be like, hey, like I messed up. I'm gonna be better, and I apologize to my teammates, the fans, but I'm gonna be better going forward. And we're gonna do everything we can in our power to try to put our best foot forward going into the playoffs to deliver the fans what we deserve,
yeah,
and that's championship because we have the best player in the NBA. So
yeah. I was
yeah,
gonna
just crazy news.
I was gonna say, while it's not gonna all be on him for why there's turmoil there, turmoil does seem to follow him. It has been following him for a good portion of his career. So it's unfortunate because he is a phenomenal basketball player, but one of those guys that it's just kind of aggravating to watch. And
Yeah.
speaking of a guy that some might feel is a little aggravated to watch, why don't we jump into some Lakers talk, kind of break down how their games of recent have gone and
Mhm.
what's all been transpiring for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to love right now. Obviously, they had those back to back at OKC. That was, first game of that on Sunday was just a spectacular game. I mean, the Lakers, Lakers were shooting the lights out of the ball. So they ended up really putting on a dominant performance where they won by 27 at OKC, which is just super impressive considering how dominant OKC has been this year, specifically at home. But a lot of people were really quick to be like, "Oh, it's a shooting anomaly." And the Lakers can't do it again or whatever. But they did hold OKC to 99 points that game, and really, really showed what they're capable of doing on defense when they actually really, insert themselves on defense. So that was a fantastic game on the Lakers front, which led into their next game on Tuesday against the Thunder, where man, there's just nothing that drives me more nuts than when fans or when refs have their fingerprints on sporting events. I mean, I understand. I mean, just to make it clear, like I get it. Luca does his fair share of complaining, and if you're not a fan of his, I can see why someone thinks that is annoying. I mean, I think it's annoying at times, and before Luca became a Laker, I certainly was annoyed of it. But obviously now that he's a Laker, he's our guy now, so I love it and I support him. And I understand that it gets annoying, but let me just remind you, like the refs, they constantly, not only say constantly, but they're always trying to insert themselves in moments where it just is not warranted, and you're robbing the fans by doing that. The fans are not here to watch the refs. At the end of the day, the fans are here to watch the players, and that was just an amazing game. It was back and forth, and it was leading in to be an absolute awesome finish there down the stretch. And it's unfortunate that old Sherman tissue paper JT Orr had to insert himself for literally nothing. I mean, Luca was talking to a fan, which I don't see there being any problem with. Even the NBA rescinded the the technical foul and said that it wasn't warranted. So it just goes to show you that ref, for whatever reason, maybe his ego was hurt or something, had to step in and do something about it. But he ejected him, and right on cue, you know how that goes. Momentum just flips like that.
Yeah,
That
it's
OKC goes on a run.
it's just it's simply unacceptable. I mean, people, they wonder why NBA ratings are dropping. It's stuff like this is not, this cannot happen. I don't even care really if he did actually push the boundary a little bit. I know it's Luka and I know he just complained, but like the game is a 1 point game. You have people that have paid to watch this game. They're there. They want to see a good game. Obviously, the home fans want to see their team win, but they want to see a good game. They want to see these stars play, and you removing them, as you said, it just robs the fans of a great game, and it's unfortunate. And
Yeah.
hopefully, it's something that can be fixed. I don't know if it ever will be. You see it across pretty much every sport, but
Yeah, would love to
it's
see
bad.
there be some sort of accountability to referees on some of these kind of situations. I mean, I'm just putting myself in the fan situation and saying I was an OKC fan. It's like, how do you feel good about yourself after winning that? Like, at the end of the day, like in these big games like that, I want to see the best players out there in the biggest moments and see how it goes. And credit to OKC. I mean, they got the job done. It's out of their control that referee made that decision. So you can't put any blame on them. And they found a way to get the job done, and they won the game. So credit to them. But
You I mean,
It'll be very interesting to see what happens come playoff time if these teams do match up in the playoffs.
yeah, and just piggybacking off of that, like, yeah, you want to see the stars out there because the playoffs are right around the corner. You want to see, can the Thunder actually beat the Lakers? Can the Lakers actually beat the Thunder? Like, these are matchups we want to find out and get as much data as fans as we can, in my opinion, and put the best up against the best, see what happens. So, unfortunate, but the Lakers were able to rebound from that loss. And they went into Dallas and kind of walk us through that game in Dallas. It was a big one for Luka.
Yeah. I mean, just an absolute amazing game. And first and foremost, just want to give thanks and credit to Anthony Davis for what he had accomplished with in a Lakers uniform. Obviously, was part of delivering the Lakers a championship. And I'm not here to throw any shade to Anthony Davis, as forever grateful for his time that he spent with the Lakers and what he did for the franchise. But I think that game was a very clear who won the trade. That I will say. I mean, this is my biggest problem with Anthony Davis is like obviously this night's about Luka. This night's it's Luka return to Dallas, and it's a big game for Luka. It's super emotional, but Anthony Davis gets to be the guy in the shadows that can come in and be like, you know what, I'm gonna play spoiler tonight. I'm gonna show Dallas fans that hey, we might have lost Luka, but you got me now, and I'm the top 75 greatest player of all time, and I've accomplished lots of accolades in this NBA as well. And let me remind you who I am. And this has always been my biggest gripe with Anthony Davis is that on one night he'll go out there and he'll have a performance, and you'll be telling yourself like, dude, are you the best player in the NBA? Like, seriously, like you're that dominant when you decide so. But then you'll turn around and you'll have a game like he had against the Lakers, and it's where you go 13 and what do you go 13-6 or something like that. Which he did impact the game on defense, and he had his moments where he was impactful, but that's one of those games where I want to see Anthony Davis demand the ball and say, "Give me the ball. I'm Anthony Davis. Get out of my." I'm not necessarily saying get out of my way, but I'm going to dominate you. You don't have anybody that can guard me, and I'm going to play spoiler and ruin this night for Luka. But what an amazing atmosphere, and just credit to Luka for being able to be emotional at the beginning of the game like that, and then put those emotions aside and just go out there and be a cold-blooded killer like he was. And just an awesome game to experience, and very happy that the Lakers found a way to get the W in that one.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch, and I just want to point out the way JJ's got that team playing, that the ball movement. It feels like this group. I was hesitant to believe that this group could work together with Luka, LeBron, Reeves, and such. Very impressed with how these guys are playing and how they move the ball, and it led to a dominant performance from Luka's part. Then you hear the Fire Nico chants going in that crowd, that Dallas crowd. Mark Cuban hanging his head.
Crazy.
Just an unreal moment, and it's kind of the moment we've been waiting for. We've been wanting to see Luka go back there and put on a show. So
Yeah.
pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I tell you who's the most excited about that, and that's that guy LeBron James. Where for the first time in his career, like I'm watching this game, it's just like, here you go, Luka. I'm just going to conserve all my energy here and let you just completely, win us this game through three quarters, and then come fourth quarter, I'm, conserved energy, and I can go out there and put my head down and get to the basket and find a way to help us close this game. And it's beautiful to watch what they got going. And like you said, JJ's really got these guys buying in, and I'm loving what I'm seeing here. And the playoffs can't come sooner, as it's going to be an awesome season, this playoff season.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see how far this team can go, because if you would ask me at the beginning of the trade, I wouldn't have thought they could really go on this run. But starting to believe in this team a little bit more, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the NBA playoffs around the corner. And that is going to wrap up our NBA talk for today, and we're going to jump into some NFL talk. We did a 2-round mock draft, and we're going to discuss what we think the NFC North teams are going to do. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're jumping into the mock draft we did. 2 rounds, NFC North teams, and let's start with the favorite team of ours, the Chicago Bears. They're picking at the 110 spot, and we did a first 10 pick mock draft the other night. We both at that time had Will Campbell going to the Bears, falling there to 10, and so I'm sticking with it. I think Will Campbell drops to 10, and I think he could possibly go to the Jets if the Jets decide Will Campbell over Mimbu, but I think it's going to end up being Will Campbell in Chicago. He's a versatile lineman, 6'6", 323, proven obviously at the SEC level. He only allowed 2 sacks in over 2 seasons, and look, with the concerns of the arm size, we discussed this at length. He can move to guard if he has to, so provides a lot of versatility. Joe Tooney being at the kind of at the end of his career at this point, a few more years left in him. It just provides opportunity for him to play tackle or guard. So I just think the pick makes sense for him at 10 if he's there. Do you agree with that pick, or did you go a different route this time?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for us, I think we're both in agreement that if Ashton Genty's sitting there at 10, he's just too dynamic for us to pass up on.
Sure.
But I think we both also agree that Ashton Genty's probably not going to be there at 10. So I am in agreement with you on this. I do think the Bears select Will Campbell here. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely some concerns on the Bears offensive line front right now with Braxton Jones. I mean, they're looking in the barrel of a contract extension at the end of this season, and obviously looking back at his last free agency, we know what what these guys were getting in free agency, and it's not cheap. And Braxton Jones definitely could demand some money here this coming off season, and the Bears have already invested quite a bit of money into this offensive line between obviously Tooney and Jonah Jackson and Drew Dahman, and so they got some money tied up in that offensive line, and bringing in a rookie like Will Campbell could kind of help offset that some. And but obviously the hope is that Braxton Jones, excels this season and he does get that payday and it's worth it. But there has been some concerns there, and time will tell how he fits in Ben Johnson's system. But I think Campbell's the safe pick. Like you said, he's versatile. You can move him across the line if needed, and his tape doesn't lie. I mean, he has had great tape here at and playing in the SEC these last couple seasons.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the best comparison that people will say is those SEC guys. They get to play against typically the best competition, which translates really well to the NFL. So I don't have much concerns for him, even if he does struggle on the outside. You move him inside, and he's a Pro Bowl guard. I mean, he's too good to pass up. I think if he were off the board in those first 10 picks, and like you said, Genty's there, you kind of they did do some work with their moves they made this offseason, so they can afford to go position player and grab a Genty, or even if they wanted to grab receiver Tyler Warren, like they can do pretty much whatever they want here at this pick. But I do project them to be a little bit safe, take Will Campbell, and lead up to their second round pick, the 39th overall pick. This is where I've got them taking a running back. If they don't get Genty in those first 10 picks, they are, in my opinion, taking a running back with one of their 2 second-round picks. And it's my number 2 overall ranked guy, Travion Henderson, out of Ohio State. This dude is the most explosive back in this class. If you listen to anybody talk about him, obviously they're going to say shades of Jahmyr Gibbs, shades of Jamal Charles. Just real explosive, home run speed. Just this guy can take it to the house from anywhere on the field. 4.3 speed, and look, the only real negative with them is the injury history that he has sustained in his career. But I think there have been plenty of guys that have had an injury history in college that have gone into the NFL and not had an injury history at all. So somehow stayed healthy, and I think it's worth taking that swing if you're the Chicago Bears to get that home run hitter. So yeah, that's 239 second round. Who do you got the Bears taking there at that pick?
Yeah, so I think the big needs that the Bears are looking to, accomplish here in this draft are, we're talking about them going running back and possibly, and then just continuing to build out the trenches. I feel like is where they're going to lead to. Obviously, they got these 2 picks here in the second round at 39 and 41, and I do think they'll go running back with one of these 2 picks, assuming they don't get Genty at 10. but I actually have been going Kenneth Grant here, assuming that he falls low. Definitely a chance he doesn't fall to 39, but if he's there, I think they go. I think they go Kenneth Grant there. They build the trenches out more. He's a big boy, 6'4", 331, and yeah, he's a good run stopper and just a good force to have there in the middle. And obviously young and um, yeah, lots of life there with him. And I think if he's there, you take him and then look to possibly go running back at that 41 pick. But
For
I
sure.
got the Bears going Kenneth Grant out of Michigan.
Yeah, solid pick if he's there. I mean, I wouldn't be upset one bit if he does follow that pick and then go on that route because I think he's going to be a phenomenal player at the NFL level. That brings up the 41st overall pick. So just a couple picks later. And right now I've got them going with an offensive tackle in the first round, a running back with that first pick in the second round. The next pick would be an edge rusher. I think that they could look to improve in that department, and I think Landon Jackson could be the pick out of Arkansas. He's a real big dude, 6'6", 6'7", kind of in that range. So he's got great size, nice long arms, uh, pretty solid speed, 4.6 speed, and real high motor guy. He was a first team All SEC in 2023, so again he can play with the best of the best. And really, where I see him is he's just needing to develop in his pass rushing skills. He's very one dimensional when he's getting to the quarterback, but all in all, I think he's a pretty solid prospect and will continue to improve. I think he'd be a good fit for Chicago. So the 41st pick, who do you have the Bears going with?
Yeah, so like I was saying on the last pick there, I do foresee the Bears taking a running back here with one of these top three picks. And you had Henderson at Ohio State going there at 39. I have him going at 41, and pretty much agree with all the same things you can do or he can do. There obviously was some health concerns that you need to look at, but man, there's no denying what this guy can do when he's right. He's explosive, can catch out of the backfield, and obviously having a shiny little toy like that can kind of do everything for Ben Johnson, I'm sure is attractive for him. So I got the Bears going Travion Henderson here, running back out of Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad you wind up with Travion there because I just think he would be the best fit in this system for what Ben Johnson will do and will look to do. And so that's going to wrap up the Chicago Bears picks. And we are going to jump into the Lions next. And look, the Lions have a first round pick. It's a 28th overall pick. And I've got them going corner. Uh, I got them taking Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky. And this is a guy that I'm seeing go up some people's boards, but a week or so ago, he was a pretty much a second round pick, same on most people's mock drafts. But when you look at the tape and you look at his ability, he is a freak athlete. The one knock is that he's undersized. Yeah, I think he measured in at 5'10", 5'11", or something at the combine. If you were to look up his height, though, on Google, it'll say he's 6'1", but more so he's 186 pounds. So real small guy. He's gonna struggle in press coverage, but incredible ball skills. The guy had 3 pick sixes at Kentucky that tied a school record, and he just really he can do it all, and he can guard it from anywhere. So I think Detroit, they can go in a lot of different directions here. They do need help on the defensive line. They could use some help on the offensive line. They could add another receiver, but uh, I just foresee Maxwell Harrison being a really good fit on that defense and being a guy that Dan Campbell really likes. So that's who I got them going with. How about you? How about you with the 28th overall
Yeah.
pick?
Yep. So the 28th pick, I have Detroit selecting Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M, and pretty much agree with what you say. Obviously, we saw what happened with Detroit last year with the injury concerns, and definitely was lacking some depth. Well, I mean, half their team was hurt, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, just more depth there at that defensive line, I think is going to be good for them. And obviously, with this class is just an absolute loaded, defensive line class. So I have them going Scorton. I feel like there's some uncertainty with Hutchinson coming into next year. Obviously, we hope that he bounces back from that gruesome injury and like nothing ever happened. But we also have seen, players suffer tragic injuries like that, and sometimes they never come back the same. And then you factor in that Zadarius Smith um, is possibly not going to be returning, so you're going to be losing out there. And I got the Lions going scoring out of Texas A&M here.
So solid pick. Would not surprise me one bit. They're kind of one of those teams at that spot where I'm really not sure where they're going to go. So solid pick. They're back up in the second round with the 60th overall pick. And I've got them going with a guard out of Georgia, Tate Ratledge. I think this is just going to be not a sexy pick, obviously, but a pick to just improve and add some depth to that line. They've got some incredible running backs there in Detroit. Obviously, the passing game has worked. But they're going to lose Ben Johnson, so we'll see kind of where that offense goes and the changes they make there. But doesn't hurt to add some depth at the guard position. Tate Ratledge played in the SEC, so as we've said already, that just kind of showcases that you're going to be able to translate your game from college to the NFL. Should be able to at least. He's a real powerful guard. He's able to get real low and stay low and be a strong anchor for the offensive line. Real consistent as far as playing. He's started 13 to 14 games in 2024. And like Georgia had the top ranked offensive line. He was a part of that. Pretty athletic guy. He impressed the combine. He ran under 5 seconds, a 4.97 second 40. Solid for a guy his size with a 32-inch vertical jump, which, again, very, very good for a guard. Especially, I think it was a 9.97 in the relative athletic score, so really high score there. And, it just can't really – it's one of those picks that it's a safe pick. They cannot go wrong adding him. I think he's going to be a fine player in the NFL. So that's where I got Detroit going there in the second round, 60th overall pick. Where do you see them going?
Yeah, no, I have them going in a little bit of a different direction here. Obviously, there's some uncertainties, and I'm very interested to see kind of how this offense looks once now that Ben Johnson's out of there. And I have them actually go on wide receiver here. I have them going with Isaiah out of Texas. I know there definitely could be, his draft stock could plummet a little bit here after the allegations that have come out against him these last couple days. But at the end of the day, you're innocent until proven guilty. So we'll see how that can unravels there. But definitely a good chance he maybe kind of falls down the board some with this. But I haven't been swinging on Isaiah Bond here. He's obviously a freak athlete, and just being able to add another speed demon into that offense is just going to make the Lions even more scary. And you put someone like that in there. I mean, they already have superpowers, and you put someone in there like that. Now they have even more superpowers. So, and I'm sure they'll be able to find a fit for him in that offense with the way they do things.
Yeah, it would not surprise me one bit. They go receiver. I'd make kind of a splash pick like that, especially a guy like him. We'll see on the allegations. Allegations are thrown around all the time. And so, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But definitely would be an insane pick for Detroit. Scary pick as a Bears fan for them to add another weapon. But we're going to move on to the Green Bay Packers, to the rivals. And they're up in the first round with the 23rd overall pick. And I'm going back and forth on this pick specifically. This organization is not known to take a wide receiver in the first round. It's very rare. And they have a Mika out of Ohio State that could be on the board when they're up to pick, and I think that'd be a great fit for them. However, I've got them going with an edge rusher. I had them taking Shamar Stewart, got him drop into that pick out of Texas A&M. This guy, just on paper, incredible when it comes to his athleticism and what he could become. When you look at the stats on paper, though, it doesn't reciprocate that. You don't really see anything that jumps off to you outside of his ability. So he ran a 4.59 40. He's got a 40-inch vertical. Same for an edge rusher to do that. 6'6", close to 300 pounds. Just really lacked in production. And I think because of that, you could see him go a little bit later in that first round, but still a first round pick more than likely. And I I brought up relative athletic score. He was a perfect 10. So it kind of goes to show you how Tate Ratledge having a 9.97 in that scoring shows how good that is for his position. So, but yeah, Shamar Stewart, freakish athlete, would be a great pick for Green Bay. Adds an edge rusher, which they need, and that's where I see them going. So, that being said, where do you see Green Bay going with their first round pick?
Yeah, I completely agree with you on the Shamar Stewart. I mean, he's a complete wild card in this draft. I mean, some mocks have him going as high as 12 to Dallas, and he could potentially even fall into the early second round. It's hard saying. I do in my mock have him going earlier than 23 to the Packers, but I agree on the stance that I do think that Green Bay goes edge. Obviously, like we were saying, it's a super loaded edge class here. And I have them going James Pierce out of Tennessee. Another one of those ones, maybe not as much of a freak athlete as Stewart, but did run the fastest 40 time out of all the edges out of 4.47. And he does have the stats to back up his play as well. Playing in the SEC, he accumulated 17 sacks over the last 2 seasons. And so, yeah, I mean, freak athlete. His stats, back up the fact that he, is capable of being a high level player. And I think if he's sitting there at 23, the Packers, swing on James Pierce out of Tennessee.
Yeah, that would be an incredible pick. He's a player I like a lot. Really, the only knock I've got on him that I've noticed is just seems like he takes plays off, and that could kind of push teams away. Obviously these guys want players to be all in every single play. So whether that matters or not, we will find out. I'm excited to kind of see where Green Bay goes in that first round, but they're back up in the second round, and they're picking from the 54th overall spot. So here I have them going defense again, and I have them with kind of a safe pick. Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle out of Toledo. Darius, he is not the biggest guy, but you don't need to be when you're an interior defensive lineman. He's about 6'4", 310. But great strength on him, and he's athletic. He's pretty fast for that position, and he proved that by returning a 58-yard touchdown off an interception that he had grabbed. So just a real consistent guy, safe pick for Green Bay. They go kind of risky with that first round pick. They come back to earth in that second round. Safe pick, Darius Alexander. Where do you see the Green Bay Packers going to the second round?
Yeah, I think the common theme with this draft is that there is a lot of safe picks. It maybe doesn't have the firepower of that last draft, last year in 2023, or 2024, but man, a lot of depth in this draft, specifically at edge and obviously running back and even quarterback. There's quite a bit of depth there, and I agree with you though. I think the Packers go defense here. Our mocks are a little bit off on this because I got Maxwell Harrison falling into the later second round. But like you said, I mean, definitely a lot of potential that you could go, later first round. Honestly, the guy is just an absolute freak athlete, like you alluded to, but there obviously is some size concerns being 180 pounds. And you'll certainly need to put on a little bit of strength here coming into the NFL. But man, you can't deny the guy's athleticism. I mean, he ran a 4.28 40. That's just insane for a corner. And yeah, very very high percentiles in a lot of the other measurables, the vertical, the broad jump, and then obviously the 40. So very interested to see where he'll end up at. But I think again, if he's there at 54 for Green Bay, I don't see him falling much lower than that. That's kind of the bottom I see for him.
Yeah, I mean it would shock me honestly, and I think a team like Chicago, if Harrison's still on the board when you're up in that 39-41 range, like it's a name you have to consider. I've seen guys like Todd McShay really fall in love with him. It's really high on his list and expects him to go higher than people expect. So that's kind of where I've got.
The Bears would have the two most freakish corners in the NFL then between Gordon and obviously Gordon plays the nickel, but still, I mean, both just would be freakish athletes there, and it could be an interesting fit there with Chicago as well.
It would be dangerous. Absolutely would be dangerous. That brings up the Minnesota Vikings, and These guys do not have a second round pick, but they do have a first round pick, and they're picking from the 24th overall spot. And look, I just think they're gonna go position of need. They need a safety, and they go grab Malachi Starks out of Georgia. Uh, could go earlier than this, might not be on the board. There's some other names that at the safety position that I think will be there. I just see them going safety almost no matter what because there are just too many names there that should be there. So, but I got them going Starks. I think he's the best safety that's going to be on the board. And I mean, played at Georgia, so another SEC guy, very versatile. He can play all over. Insane tackler, especially in the open field. He brought down 52 solo tackles in 2024. Ran a 4.5 40, so not necessarily the quickest guy in the world, but it's not slow either. And first team All America in 2023. Like I said, he can play multiple roles. It's just kind of a pick where you get him, he starts, and he ends up being a solid player for that defense, and it proves it right away. So that being said, who do you have the Vikings going with their one pick in these two rounds?
Yeah. So I agree completely with you there on the Malachi Starks front. I mean, if he's certainly sitting there and on the Vikings, I'm taking Malachi Starks. I do think they will go safety. I do also have Malachi Starks, going earlier at 24, but I do have Minnesota taking Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina. I don't have him rated as high as Starks as I just love Starks' tackling ability. It's very reminiscent of a Brisker out of Chicago, and just seeing the impact that having a guy back there that can make big tackles, man, it just changes. It can change the game.
Yep.
And having guys out there that can make big tackles, but also be a ball hawk back on the back end, is definitely it's an asset to have. But with Eamon Worry, I don't have him quite really as rated as high as Starks, but he also is a quality tackler himself, and does great ball hawking abilities. Where he had 4 interceptions last year, and then also pitched in another 88 tackles, total tackles, not stolen, but did pitch in 88 total tackles and 4 interceptions. So kind of can do a bit of everything. And I got Vikings going even worry there.
Yeah, again, safety, I think we're on the same page there. That's the route they end up going. Would be a little shocked if they went a different route, but yeah, I'm excited to see what happens here with these NFC North teams. As we said, we're Bears fans, so it's the one that we're going to have our eyes on big time come draft day. But yeah, very excited for this draft, and that's going to kind of roll into our next topic. I'm going to break down some fantasy football players that are coming in during this NFL draft that you're going to want to keep an eye on. Some late projected players that could be some big hits. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's get into some fantasy football talk. People that know me know how much I love fantasy and how serious I take this. So I'm excited to kind of break these down. I've got 3 players today for you that are looking to be second or third round picks and rookie drafts that I think could be some big hits. And look, it's what I look for, honestly. You have your first round picks, and it's pretty much going to be the same in a lot of league types, minus super flex leagues. We're going to see some quarterbacks thrown in there, but consensus wise, you're going to kind of know those first 12 picks. But that second and third round, it starts to become somewhat dart throws. And I think one thing that I've always thrived at in the fantasy football world is finding those dart throws and turning them into hits. So we got 3 names today that I think will become hits. And if you're going to be drafted right after the NFL draft, pay attention to where these guys go because they could be steals in this draft. So we're going to start it off with a running back who I've got him ranked a little higher than probably most, but I've seen him. Fantasy Pros has him even ranked as higher than me at the number 5 guy, but on Sleeper, he's a number 10 ranked running back at this moment. That man is RJ Harvey. RJ Harvey at a UCF, he is my number 6 ranked running back. Started out as a quarterback, and so it's a little bit unconventional for him to transition into running back, but became an absolute threat back there. And became their all-time leading scorer there at UCF. So he's a 5'8" guy, a little smaller, um, but real shifty, compact. He's able to run through the tackles. He's able to break tackles, find the open space, and really show off his elusive ability, especially in the open field. It's reminiscent of an Aaron Jones type of player, also a smaller school type of guy. Jones was coming out of college, and a guy that I did like a lot when he got picked up by the Packers. So, um, yeah, similar player in how they play, how they run with the ball. It would not surprise me one bit if RJ Harvey finds himself in a situation where he quickly becomes a starter. So you really just got to keep your eye out on where he goes, how early he goes. He's a hard guy to project because, like I said, some people have him ranked real high inside the top five with their rankings. Some people got him outside the top five. So time will tell with the NFL draft, but he's that guy that I think will be a second round pick in most drafts. And if he goes to a place like Denver, a place with some opportunity, you're going to want to grab him. Absolutely. So that's my first guy on this list. The second guy is a wide receiver, but kind of has the ability to be a dual threat guy as well. You can see him in the backfield. That person is Savion Williams. He is the wide receiver out of TCU. He is my number 12 ranked wide receiver at this moment. And this guy, he just screams to me Cordero Patterson. I mean, he's even rocking a similar chain. This dude's got a similar look to him, but really similar play style. He can line up in the backfield. He can line up at receiver. He can line up at special teams. He's a guy that you can play all over. He's a big, physical dude. And he's just a red zone target. He really possesses a lot of things to like about him. Now, keep in mind, Cordero Patterson wasn't a superstar player necessarily. He did have a good year when he was playing predominantly running back in Atlanta. I believe he finishes the RB9 a few years back. So, not saying that Savion's going to be a top 5, top 10, top 15 receiver in the league. Again, it's going to depend on fit, and it's going to depend on just kind of the situation and what presents itself. But phenomenal player, phenomenal athlete. I think he's going to end up being a steal in the drafts and be the next Cordero Patterson. So he's my number 2 guy to look out for. We're going to wrap it up with one more. And this guy's my favorite on this list. I've got him ranked in my rankings one spot behind Savion Williams, but it will not surprise me if he ends up being a star in the league. And that man is Nick Nash, San Jose State. This dude started out as a quarterback and played well at quarterback, but transitioned to receiver, and he reminds me so much of Puka Nacua. Now, I'm not saying he's Puka Nacua. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on him, but he is being overlooked just like Nacua was. If you remember those drafts, he was not going in a lot of drafts, even in the 3rd round. He was going outside that or getting picked up in the offseason leading up to the season or after the first couple of weeks. He was the guy available. So completely overlooked player. Nacua went to BYU, so a school that, it's a little bit bigger than San Jose State, going to get more recognition than San Jose State, but still it's one of those smaller schools where it is easy to get overlooked. And at the end of the day, this guy put up stats, right? He filled the stat sheet at receiver. He led NCAA and receptions, yards, touchdowns, a triple crown at that receiver position. I will say there were 2 tight ends, Harold Fannin Jr. and Tyler Warren, who Warren had the same amount of receptions, and Fannin Jr. had way more receiving yards than anybody. So some things to note when we talk about some tight ends here in the near future. We'll dive into those guys, but still, he triple crown at the receiver position and at San Jose State. And to me, proved that he could do it. I think even playing quarterback helps him a lot, playing the receiver position, because now you've got a guy who's got the mind of a quarterback that knows where the soft spots are on the defense, can find them and take advantage of that, be a difference maker for a team. You brought up the Lions going receiver. with Isaiah Bond. But if they end up waiting a little bit longer, even, I don't project him to go in the first couple rounds, but probably a day 3 guy, they go with the Nick Nash type of player, it will not surprise me one bit if he works his way up in that depth chart, becomes a difference maker for a team like the Lions. So keep an eye out for where he goes, because right now he's my favorite name that's on the draft board in that 3rd round. That he's not going in a lot of 3rd rounds, but should be. I know I'll be looking to make that pick. So Nick Nash would be the name. He's my favorite one on this list.
And he's someone that's even interesting from the Chicago front as well. You look at what, Ben Johnson's this trick play wizard, and Nash being able to play the quarterback position too. It really kind of intriguing depending on how late he does fall in the draft here coming up. But I could see him being potentially a fit in Chicago. As that we're given, I know it's not necessarily a big need for Chicago, but
Sure.
It's something that could possibly make sense depending on where he falls at. And that I'm sure Ben Johnson's, chomping at the bit there to have somebody of that kind of caliber to be able to draw up some trick plays and whatnot, as we know he loves to do those.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got Antoine Randall on the coaching staff, and he's one of those guys that's known for playing quarterback and making that transition to wide receiver at the NFL level. So would be an absolute great fit for him, honestly, because I think he'd be in that situation where he can really learn to develop. Again, I'm not saying he's Puka. Puka came in and played well right off the bat. It might take this guy some time, but he absolutely possesses the traits very similar to Puka, similar size, similar speed. I mean, their 40 time is pretty much the exact same. Their vertical jump, everything about them is so similar. It's almost scary, and that was kind of the thing that jumped out the most to me was when you put those two and everything that they did leading up to the draft. You put their stats and everything together and their ability, it's so similar. And they even play at a similar manner. They're both guys that are good with the ball in their hands after they catch it. They're good at jumping up and getting the ball. They don't take it from defenders. Got good body positioning. I just think he's going to be a steal in this draft. And I'm excited to see where he goes. But
yeah, that was some really good insight you provided there. And man, I almost feel a little bit bad for you though, just knowing that some of these people in your fantasy leagues are going to get your insight now through this podcast. So if you guys are in any of Austin's fantasy leagues, just disclaimer here, just do us a favor, just skip through this part here. So
yeah, we
just kidding, man.
As I mentioned earlier that we're running a Discord at the moment, and I've been writing articles for that Discord. And this was an article I did put this article out talking about these 3 guys specifically, and it didn't take long for me to receive a message from our brother. It was Britt. He messaged me pretty quick and said, taking one of my San Jose State guys, huh? So definitely a name that he
awesome.
He also likes, but now he knows that I like him, and it's going to make it tough because we're in a couple of leagues together, and it's going to be tough for me to be able to walk away with Nick Nash there in the 3rd round. I might have to take him in the 2nd and just take a big chance, but I'm not about to be too reckless here. So
no doubt.
Definitely, if you are not and want to join the Discord and you want to find out more about these articles, there will be a link in the description below. Go ahead and join, and we provide more content there. I try to upload any videos or shorts or anything like that we put together. I try to upload it there to Discord first, so you do get priority if you join. Glad to have you there. We're going to take a quick break and get back into it with some UFC picks. Ethan's got a parlay of the week to go over, so we'll jump into that next. All right, welcome back. We're going to jump into some UFC talk. We've got UFC 314 Saturday night. Look, we're recording this on Friday, the 11th, so I don't know when this episode's going to get published, probably sometime early Saturday, so still a night away for us, but excited for these fights. We've got some really big fights on this card. We kind of broke down some of our picks last week, so I don't think we really need to go into those too much. But if you want to highlight your parlay of the week, where you kind of discuss, I know you've got a couple picks from these fights specifically. Go ahead and highlight those fights and what you have.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure. I mean, For me, it's just to kind of paraphrase on a little bit what we talked about in the last episode. Man, it's just I love me some Volkanovski, but it's just hard for me to get behind him in this. I have a hard time believing in fighters after they get viciously knocked out. Obviously, Volk had that really bad knockout against Topuria in his last fight, but I do love that he took time off and hopefully is right for this one. But man, Lopez is a brawler, and Lopez is going to come forward and it'll be up to Volk to really use his movement, use those leg kicks and kind of get Lopez a little bit flustered and get him slowed down as Lopez doesn't have really any 5-round experience and Volk's got a ton of it. But man, I just think that Lopez is going to find his chin. I really do. And I'll be rooting for Volk in this one. But as far as, parlay, I got Lopez by knockout here. It's a pretty big swing there. It's a plus 300 odds. If you're not feeling so risky, you can hammer the money line. But I do like Lopez in this fight, and I do think if he's going to get the job done, it's more than likely going to be by knockout. I like Volkanovski's chances the longer the fight goes, but give me Lopez by knockout there. Another one to add in on this parlay is the co-main here between Chandler and Patty the Savvy. You like what I did there?
I like it.
Yes. Patty the Savvy is what I call him because honestly, his resume is really just sad. Obviously, there's stepping stones in the UFC and whatnot, and Patty has he looked really good in his last fight against King Bobby Green, but this is a pretty big step up for him. I do think Chandler gets the job done in this fight. I really do. I got Chandler money line here, but this is also one of those fights where on paper it kind of seems like it's going to be fireworks, and I could kind of see it being a boring fight here. And I can see Patty kind of clinching a lot and kind of trying to slow Chandler down and it being a little bit more boring than we are expected. But I think regardless, no matter where the fight goes, I think Chandler kind of has an answer for everything. He's an all-American wrestler. I think the takedown defense is solid there. And Patty, I just have a hard time imagining him being able to batter Chandler the way, some of these guys Chandler has fought. I mean, Chandler has only fought the best guys in the entire division. So give me Chandler in this one. I'll take the Chandler money line. And then lastly, a lock for this one is I can almost, guarantee you that at some point in the night, win, lose, or draw, we're most likely going to hear these two words in the microphone, and that's going to be it's almost guaranteed, regardless if Chandler wins or not. Even if he loses, you probably can expect him to stick around and be like, "Hey Joe, let me get on that mic just so I can yell at Conor McGregor."
Absolutely.
Awesome promos, love it, but it is getting a little bit repetitive at this moment in time, I must say.
There's going to be some incredible promos on this one. You got one more on this parlay. Let's wrap up this parlay, and then we'll finish talking about some of these UFC fights. I wasn't gonna make predictions necessarily, but I think we should lock in some official final predictions before the fights start. So, but what's your last leg of this parlay?
Yeah, just a little bonus to throw on there for the Masters weekend. I don't know how many golf fans we got in here. Big golf fan right here, and there's just nothing better than Masters weekend, specifically Championship Sunday. It's just absolute fireworks, excruciating pressure, and super entertaining to watch. But originally, I did have had McIlroy placing or finishing in the top 10, and like Austin said, we're recording this Friday night, and so far that's looking good. But we are going to revise it a little bit. We're going to move it to a hole-in-one on round 4 Championship Sunday. That there'll be a hole-in-one on that day. Hammer that. Hole 16, we all know, is a primetime hole location on Championship Sunday for this. I mean, we've seen countless hole-in-ones on that. Think back to the DeChambeau hole-in-one he had a few years back, and we've seen it numerous times and seen a lot of close ones. I know one of the more legendary ones I can think of is the 2019 Masters when Tiger stuck one or rolled one down there to 6 inches. uh, on hole 16 there. Just absolute epic shot there. But he went hole in one on Championship Sunday, round 4. That's your parlays. I do think someone will find a way to knock it in that hole there.
There you go. You if you lock in those 3 bets right there, $10 bet pays out $153.60 as of right now. And look, if I'm going to follow anybody's betting advice, there is none other than Mr. Ethan Real. He's had a lot of success in this department. So lock in those bets and good luck betting. But we're going to jump into these matchups real quick. And I'm just going to pretty much just name winners. Maybe I'll go into the fights just a tad bit. But I'll run through my 5 main card fights, and then I'll let you run into your 5 after that. So starting off with Krylov and what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? Reyes. Dominic Reyes.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'd love to see Dominic get back into the win column and kind of go on a run. I don't know if it's possible. He's obviously not at all looked nearly the same since the John Jones fight. A fight that I'm sure he still holds a grudge over and feels like he won. Many believe that he did. But I do have him getting in the win column and taking that victory there to start off the main card. Following them up is the Mitchell Silva fight, I believe, or it's either Rodriguez Pitbull. I'm not sure which one's actually second, but we'll jump into Mitchell versus Silva. And look, Bryce Mitchell's an Arkansas guy. That's where I live. I can't go against my guy, so I think Bryce Mitchell ends up winning this one and surprising people. Silva's obviously got insane knockout power. He puts people away, and that's scary considering how bad Josh Emmett did knock out Bryce, and we've also seen him get dominated by Tapuria in the past. But Bryce looked great in his last fight, and I think he's going to surprise people. I think he's going to get on the mic, and I think he's going to say some things that are going to be very interesting to hear. So, be a good opportunity for the UFC and for Bryce Mitchell. But will not be surprised if Silva does come away with the win. Just he seems like he's on a trajectory that just cannot be stopped at the moment. But if I want to put my money on anybody, it's going to be on Bryce Mitchell. Then you got Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. Pitbull is making his debut from Bellator, so finally getting over here. I believe he's 37, so up there in age, but dude, I'll take it. To see him in the UFC is awesome, but he's going up against a real game opponent, and Yair Rodriguez, a guy that I look at as being one of the best strikers in that division, and type of guy that I don't know if Pitbull has really seen before, or if he has, probably been a while. So, Yair, I've got him winning this one. I just think he's too much. I think it's just too high of a level. And with Pitbull being up there in age, I don't think he's going to be able to handle Yair. Then we're going to get to Chandler Pimblett, which you made your pick there, and I agree completely. I'm going with Michael Chandler. I think the safe bet is to go money line here. But I hope he doesn't try to take it to the ground too much, even though he's a great wrestler. Pimblett's not a guy you want to play with. He could put you in a submission very quickly, and it would not surprise me one bit, especially with how reckless Chandler gets. But hopefully he's able to put it away on his feet and show that Scousers can be knocked out. That's what I'll be looking for. And if that happens, you've got to be there for that promo. It's going to be incredible. We've got Conor McGregor already mentioning he's keeping an eye on this fight, which does not surprise me that he has even mentioned anything at all, because Conor is Conor. He's gonna steal the show somehow. So leads you into the main event. You got Volk versus Lopez, and you went the Lopez route. Now, if I'm gonna place a bet, I'm gonna place the bet that you gave me. But the heart wants what the heart wants. The heart wants to see Volk win, and I got him doing it. I think the experience is gonna play too much of a factor. I could see Lopez gassing out as long as Volk can weather the storm those first early rounds, and we start getting into the championship rounds. I think Volk's gonna walk away with it. I got it by decision, and but it's gonna be a good card. I'm super excited for it. Obviously, you've laid out a couple of your picks, but go ahead and hit on some of the other ones that you haven't talked about yet.
No, I'll kind of hit on the first 3 fights on the card, since I kind of went into a little bit of detail there, given the parlay of the week here. But starting off with the Nikita and Dominic Reyes fight. Yeah, completely agree with you there. Obviously, Reyes has not really looked the same since the John Jones many years back, where arguably he won that fight. And I don't know, that's neither here nor there. I mean, at the end of the day, he did lose, but I think a lot of people thought he won. But I'll give Reyes some credit. He has turned it around a little bit here. He has had a couple wins here, specifically in his last one against old Lionheart Smith, and knocked him out in impressive fashion. So. Uh, Yeah, I think this is where Dominic Reyes' title run it starts tomorrow night, and I think that he works his way back up the ranks and is going to get his way back up to title contention. So, uh, no, totally kidding there. I do think he wins this fight on Saturday night as the betting underdog, but yeah, I don't love his chances against obviously the top of the top of the division, but would love to see him make a run again and work his way back up and get a chance to redeem himself in a big fight situation and maybe turn the tides this time. So Blake Reyes there now heading into the Mitchell and Silva fight. Um, Second, what you say, we're supporting the Bryce Mitchell on this channel, and we're definitely nothing but love to him, and we're hoping that he does well. Obviously, he's can be controversial in the media at times and whatnot, but at the end of the day, we're both believers of. It's a free country, and whether we agree or disagree, I mean, it's his right to believe what he wants to believe, and I always respect somebody that's willing to put his, wear his heart on his sleeve and put himself out there to, be criticized whether we like it or not. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. But I do think he got Mitch in this one. Uh, Obviously, with Mitchell's grappling ability and being able to get it to the ground, I mean, at the end of the day, Silva can be can be as dangerous as he wants, but like we know, it's pretty hard to knock somebody out when you're on your back unless you're Kevin Holland, and he's the only one I've ever seen be able to do that. But if Mitchell can get into the ground, we know what Mitchell is on the ground, and he definitely has the opportunity to really slow Silva down. But man, Silva is dangerous. He's super confident right now and just knocking people out. He's won 14 of his 15 wins are by finish. Um, he's won four straight by knockout. And then he is riding a 12-fight win that was dating back to before he got in the UFC. But Bryce is a big step up in competition for him. So Bryce has the ability to slow anybody down with his grappling ability, but man, it's hard it's hard to bet against Silva in this one. It is very reminiscent of the Tapuria and Mitchell fight, where this is kind of, this was Tapuria's big step up, and now here with Silva, it's kind of his big step up. And stylistically, I don't know how much I love Bryce's chances, but man, we're rooting for him, and we hope he gets the job done. And I hope I'm wrong on this one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just from
Yep.
just from the standpoint of him getting the mic, an opportunity to just speak his mind. That's the thing that we respect him for. Whether, like you said, whether you like it or not, doesn't really matter. He's honest, and he has his opinions, strong opinions, and I respect him for putting himself out there and taking on the hate, having to take on this role because obviously the comments are very controversial. People are upset by it, but at the end of the day, he's a good dude. He's a respectful dude, and he's a guy I've had the opportunity to meet once, and that was very nice to my son, very nice to myself. So, good dude. Excited about that one. Breakdown, and I believe you got one more to talk about. So go ahead and break that one down, and we'll get out of the
Yeah.
UFC talk.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so last one that I got to get into is the Pitbull and Yair Rodriguez fight, and we got a lot of agreeing going on in this podcast, but that's just because great minds think alike, and we're both kind of on the same page on a lot of this stuff. But I agree with you on Yair being a problem for Pitbull. Pitbull's getting up there in age. Obviously we're all aware that the UFC is a different animal than Bellator, and not discrediting anything Pitbull has done over his career. He's had a phenomenal career, but man, Yair is one dangerous individual, and this is some stout competition Pitbull's going up against. Uh, this is one that I feel like probably is going to be a finish, but I also could see it kind of being a war at the same time. But I do think Yair finds a way to get get in the win column here, and I'll take Yair Rodriguez in this one.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Definitely tune in. It's going to be Saturday, April 12th. UFC 314. Definitely check it out. And look, you brought up us agreeing a lot, and I think just because of that, we're about to have ourselves a little debate. Let's have a little bit of disagreement here amongst the real bros. So we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna jump into the last topic of the night. We're gonna be debating uh, two NBA players in their careers. I'm excited to get into it, but we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're going to jump into this final topic. This one's going to lighten the mood a little bit as we're going to do a debate. We're going to be discussing two basketball players on who was the better basketball player. And if you made it this far, clearly I'm wearing a jersey, Toronto Raptors jersey, for a reason, and it would be for this debate. I'm wearing a Tracy McGrady jersey, and I chose him in this debate as being the better basketball player to Carmelo Anthony. So we're going to jump into this and kind of give our reasons as to why we think one's better than the other. And we're kind of approaching it as if we're in a courtroom setting, right? So I'm going to provide an opening statement. Bear with me. It's going to be a little long-winded statement, but it's going to drive home the point on why T-Mac is the better basketball player. And here we go. So today we examined two phenomenal athletes, two of the most gifted scorers the game of basketball has ever seen, Tracy McGrady and Carmelo Anthony. Both of them are Hall of Famers. Shout out to Carmelo. That's pretty recent news, but they're both legends in their own right. And at the end of the day, only one is truly the better basketball player. And I want to emphasize in their prime. This debate's not a career debate. This debate is at their peaks. Who is the better basketball player? And that player is Tracy McGrady. When we speak of greatness in basketball, we speak more than just points on a scoreboard. We speak about versatility, playmaking, efficiency, the impact on both ends of the floor. And Tracy McGrady, at his peak, fits that bill. He was an elite scorer and also a formidable passer, rebounder, defender. In 2002-2003 season, he led the league in scoring with 32.1 points, a feat that Carmelo never reached in his career. He also averaged 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and look, he wasn't just filling stat sheets. He was doing it on both ends of the floor, guarding the opposing team's best player, and doing it on a nightly basis. Like I said, Carmelo's best season is one where he led the league in scoring with 28.7 points per game. And at the end of the day, though, Carmelo was not the defensive player that T-Mac was not much of a two-way problem. T-Mac was a longer, more athletic, better playmaker, and he took the responsibility, as I said, of guarding the opposing team's best player. So, but don't take my word for it. Let's listen to what Kobe Bryant had to say about T-Mac when he said, quote, Tracy McGrady was the toughest player I ever had to guard. He could do everything I could do, but he was 2 inches taller. Let's emphasize on words that were spoken, right? He said the words, toughest player I ever had to guard, that being T-Mac. So Carmelo, look, he had a longer career, a better career. I'm not debating that one bit. But McGrady at his peak, he was considered to be one of the best in the world. There were a lot of debates at that time that he may be the best in the world, and not just the best scorer. So it's not about the career numbers. It's not about who reached greater heights. Just specifically the skill, the ability, what the eye test says when you watch these guys on the floor. You tell me who the better basketball player is. You can't tell me it's not Tracy McGrady.
That was some good work there. That was some good work, and I was hoping you didn't pull out that Kobe Bryant quote there, because that was a little bit of my biggest fear there. But hey, if you also listen to that quote and you fast forwarded a few more sentences, he maybe did allude that Tracy McGrady was the toughest, but he also did mention Melo in that conversation as one of the toughest people he's had to guard as well. But overall, it made some great points there. Like you were saying, I mean, this is one of those debates where we're debating who was the best in one given time. Obviously, if we're talking over a career span, Melo definitely has the edge there. I mean, Melo's one of 25 players that play at least 19 seasons. He's top 10 in scoring all time, and then he also is just an absolute baller when it comes to putting the ball in the hoop. I mean, he can do it at all 3 levels. Do it in the post. He can do it in the mid range. He can pull up three. He can catch and shoot. Can kind of do a bit of everything on the offensive end. Definitely not, the defensive. Doesn't have the defensive prowess of a Tracy McGrady, but he was still a big body, and he would still, especially specifically in his prime, later in Denver, and then obviously his time in New York, where he would just still give effort, and he would fight, and he would scrap, and he would take on that challenge of being a strong body in the low post. But just some points to hammer home why I like Melo a little bit more. Melo was Melo was the more efficient shooter over their career span. Melo did have a better field goal percentage at 44.7 to 43.5. Melo did average better mid-range percentages at 41.1 to 40.6. He was a better three-point shooter at 35.5 to 33.8. And so yeah, for me, it's always I like to value the efficiency of shooting. Now, yes, I know Austin probably might make the argument that okay, well, Melo obviously later on in his career he did have a falling off, and those percentages could be factored in by the later stages in his career where he was a little bit less efficient. But overall, still Melo was the more efficient player over a career span. And both of these players really are players that we look back on and we really wish they would have actually had an opportunity to be on a team that was a true contender to win. I mean, it would have been awesome to see both these players, lace them up for a team that was actually a real contender. I mean, you look at McGrady when he was with the Rockets or the Raptors, I mean, and when he was with the Rockets, there was always a team that was in his way that there was just no chance in him beating. Even look at the San Antonio Spurs series where he went absolutely legendary in that game against the Spurs. But I mean, regardless, that was what it was. That was the kind of Hercules effort it was going to take for a Tracy McGrady led team to be able to beat that Spurs team. And the same thing with Melo. You look at the Miami Heat big three kind of got in his way of ever getting to have a real chance at going and do a deep playoffs run. But if you are comparing both of them as far as their playoff experiences, McGrady did never make it out of the first round. And not saying that Melo's went on these long playoff runs, but he has made it out of the out of the first round twice. And early on in Denver, he did go to a conference finals, and that's one point you can make that you maybe can't make for McGrady is that at one point in time you could make the argument that Carmelo was the best player in the NBA at one given time, specifically in that late Denver run. Kind of before LeBron had come into his own, and then right before Dwayne Wade had captured his first championship. But overall, both phenomenal players. They're both Hall of Famers. They're both legends. But I like Melo's efficiency a little bit more, and I'll take Carmelo Anthony.
Look, you make some great points. You brought up some points that we're going to hit on here in a minute, but I was reminiscing a little bit because I was a pretty young boy at the time that McGrady was really dominating the NBA, and but I loved it. I was a big Lakers fan, big Kobe Bryant fan. Just my world was pretty much wrapped around that team and Kobe. Um, and there was only one player growing up that I've never admitted this to anybody, honestly. There's only been one player I've ever watched play, and I had to actually ask myself if he was a better player than Kobe. Truly, like, was he a more talented player than Kobe? And that was Tracy McGrady. So much so that T-Mac has always been my second favorite player in the NBA, just because his skill set is eerily similar, and I do think that he possesses a lot of traits to, potentially be a better basketball player overall at their peaks. But knowing me, I'm gonna have a hard time taking anybody over Kobe. But you did bring up Spurs, and he had to run into that Spurs team, and but he did have a phenomenal game. It was phenomenal into that game. We're gonna run through that sequence real fast, kind of highlight what happened. This happened in December of 2004, and 44.2 seconds are on the clock, and the Rockets are down 76-68. Now, I know that's going to sound like a real low-scoring game, but the Spurs are known for their defense at this time. Basketball's a little bit different, so it's not really a surprise that the score was so low. The surprise is what McGrady ends up doing, knowing how good of a defensive team this is. at this time. They were absolutely a powerhouse in San Antonio. Um, but look, if you don't know, 13 points, 33 seconds. Uh, he he does it by sinking. All 13 points came directly from McGrady without help. Four consecutive shots that he hit. Three of them were from behind the arc. One of them being a 4-point play. Like I said, he did it against one of the best defensive teams of all time with multiple Hall of Famers on the court. And the Rockets ended up winning this game. They ended up winning 81-80. They were down 8 points with only 35 seconds left. So some people after the game had said, Tim Duncan had said, there's nothing you can do. It's one of those moments where you just sit back and say, wow. Van Gundy, the Rockets coach, said, I've never seen anything like it. No one has. And to this day, it's hard to find a moment where someone has been able to make an impact like that in that short amount of time. I promise there were fans leaving, checked out of that game. Brewers got
For sure.
this. There are people that went home, saw ESPN News or whatever, Sports Center pop up, and they go, how is that possible that they lost that game? It did not seem like it was possible even to accomplish something like that. And just to talk about a single game performance, both of these guys have been able to drop 60 plus. Melo's career high, I believe, is 62. Same with McGrady. So both are great scorers. I just think when you break down their overall ability, you watch them, and they do the eye test, and we're debating the better player. It's just hard to stack up against Team Mac.
Yeah, no doubt. And that whole game against the Spurs, man, what an absolute insane ending to a game. I mean, there's only so many moments out there. When you YouTube crazy endings NBA compilation, let's say, like, that clip is gonna live on forever of what Tracy McGrady was able to do at the end of that game against the Spurs. Just absolutely ridiculous, hotter than fish grease. But um, you know, I hear some of the points you're making, and another point, for you is when we were young and whatnot and playing on NBA 2K, if you weren't playing with Kobe, who was the next person you were so stoked to play with back in the day? It was Tracy McGrady. There was nothing like playing with him on 2K back in the early 2000s. But yeah, I mean they're both neck and neck, really. I mean, Melo's got 6 All NBAs and T Mac's got 7. Melo's a 10-time All Star. T Mac's got 7. Scoring titles, Melo's got 1. T Mac's got 2. Neither has won an MVP. Neither has won a title. So they're really hard neck and neck. I just felt like I just feel like for Melo's sake that, man, if it wasn't for LeBron James and those boys down there in Miami, like I do think that Melo would have had the opportunity to go on a run. Or specifically, if Melo would have been the third, or the third-headed horse, down there in Miami instead of Bosch, that what they could have possibly accomplished, we'd be having a whole different conversation. But that's sports, though. We're always going to talk about the what ifs and what it could have been, and what would have happened if this happened, and that's how it goes. And both the players have had phenomenal careers, but I like Melo just a little bit more. And I know we're not valuing the longevity of this, but I do love that Melo was able to sustain greatness for a long time. And also, Melo was a national champion in college. He was a 3-time Olympic champion. Helped bring 3 golds back to back to the United States. And it's in doing it in a fashion when they lost in 2004, and they were LeBron and Melo, and then they were the young bucks that didn't get a chance to play, and they never wanted to experience that again, and went on a dominant run after that. And Melo was a key piece in doing that. Doesn't necessarily mean that he was the better player, but just to provide some context that even though Melo never won a championship, he still did have some accomplishments, and still was a part of some big things in the game of basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's a tough debate. Both guys were very good. I think if you were to argue specifically career-based, yeah, it's hard to go and say that T-Mac had a better career as a whole. But I'm going to throw you on the stand real fast, my closing statement and closing questioning. Look, if you were building a team, you need to build starting 5, or this is backyard basketball and you're picking teams, right? and you got T Mac and you got Carmelo standing there, you got the first pick. Who are you taking? Because I know I'm taking T Mac, and I'm not hesitating.
I might have to plead the fifth on this one, Austin. But you know what? I say we get a poll going. You know, we have you guys that to settle this debate for us. You know, we'll get a poll put out there, and you guys vote on who you think is the better player at their prime. You know, leave us a comment. You know, let us know. You know, who you think won this debate. Also, who you think is the better player of the two. We certainly would appreciate your feedback on that. Um, but I'm going to plead the fifth on this one, and we're going to let the fans settle this debate for us, Austin.
It sounds like a win for the T Mac club, but yeah, schoolyard pick, schoolyard pick. Who you got? T Mac, Carmelo. We'll throw a poll out there, and excited to see what kind of feedback we get there. But that's gonna wrap it up for us. I just want to thank everybody for listening. If you made it this far, seriously, it means the world to us. We're gonna continue to push out more content. We've been doing. Ethan's been doing a lot of these shorts that he's putting out, so check those out. We're on Instagram. We have an account on X. Ethan's running a TikTok account. I'll be posting some content, and like I said before, we've got a Discord channel where we have first come first serve kind of content where we're pushing everything there first, along with some articles and some other things. So I'll have some fantasy football rankings posted there here in the near future as well. But look, until next time, it's been fun, Ethan. I can't wait to hop on for episode number 3.
Yeah, me too. Me too, Austin. It's been a blast for me, and I'm excited to see where we can take this, and excited to keep pumping out content and giving the fans what they want. And we appreciate everything that you guys have done back for us, and appreciate the feedback and the support. And like we talked about, leave us a comment, shoot us a DM, let us know what you guys are liking, what you want to see more of, and we'll certainly get to it and give our opinions on future episodes to come. So thank you guys, very much appreciated.
All right, see y'all later.
Peace.